I'm here with my colleagues, Carla and Karen. If you could turn your camera on, please. There we go. So we're all here, Perla and Karen. We are with the Los Angeles County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. Welcome to our webinar, which we have titled Consumer Services and Workers' Protections. Please take note that your microphone is currently on mute. You may ask questions at any time during the presentation by submitting them through the chat box. If you look at your screen, it's located on the lower right-hand corner of the WebEx page. It's a good idea to leave the chat box open. Even if you don't ask questions, we'll be posting a lot of really valuable information on there throughout the entire webinar. This webinar is being recorded. Just wanted to let you know, and it will be available on our website. If you just go on to dcva.lacounty.gov, you click on whatever tab you need services-wise, but for videos, we are putting this under the small claims tab under the webinars and videos in case you want to see it later. At the conclusion of this presentation, we would really appreciate if everybody could complete the 4-question survey. Just let us know how we did. Please give us any suggestions, additional webinars you would like to see. All feedback is welcome. And then to get it started, we're going to go ahead and send this off to Perla.
Thank you, Diana, and good afternoon to all attendees. My name is Perla Molina, and I'm a wage enforcement investigator with the Wage Enforcement Program. I would like to welcome everyone to the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs Consumer and Worker Protections webinar. Before we begin the webinar, I want to introduce the Consumer Affairs Advisory Commission Chair Patsy Ostroy from the 3rd Supervisorial District. Chair Ostroy and other appointed commissioners join us today to provide brief introductions, provide information on the Consumer Affairs Advisory Commission, and highlight some of the important work that the Commission has done in service to all Los Angeles County consumers and residents. Chair Ostroy, if you're with us, the floor is yours.
Tenny, next slide, please. I believe the chair may be running a little bit late, Perla. So what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and get started on the presentation. And as soon as she comes in, we'll go ahead and give her the floor. Does that sound good?
That's great. Thank you, Diana. Now, I would like to present a quick snapshot of the ordinances that our department is tasked with enforcing. First is the County of Los Angeles Minimum Wage Ordinance that took effect on July 1st of 2016. The minimum wage ordinance sets a higher minimum wage than the state of California for the unincorporated areas of the county. The ordinance applies to employees who perform at least 2 hours of work within a particular week within the unincorporated areas of the county. Now, this includes those part-time employees, full-time employees, and employees that are on probation or training, and those employees who work for nonprofit organizations. All employers, both large and small, are required to pay their employees no less than $15 an hour, and that took effect July 1st of this year. And beginning January 1st of 2022 and thereafter, the Board of Supervisors will determine the adjusted rates based on the Consumer Price Index, which will take effect July 1st of that year. And just to clarify, a large employer is considered any employer with 26 or more employees, and a small employer is any employer with 25 or fewer employees. Next slide, please. Now, the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs also has a partnership with the City of Santa Monica and is tasked with enforcing the City of Santa Monica's minimum wage ordinance. The Santa Monica Minimum Wage Ordinance also establishes a minimum wage in Santa Monica for those employees who perform 2 or more hours of work in a particular week within the geographical boundaries of the city. All employers, both large and small, are required to pay their employees no less than $15 per hour effective July 1st of this year. Next slide. We're going to go ahead and skip this. Tenny? If you can hear me, can I get the next slide, please?
We're actually gonna go ahead and introduce the chair now, Perla.
Oh, okay. Let me go back to my introduction. Thank you, Tenny.
Sorry to be late. I had trouble logging on.
That's okay. We're just happy to have you. I'm going to go ahead and reintroduce you. So before we continue with the webinar, I want to introduce the Consumer Affairs Advisory Commission Chair, Patsy Ostroy, from the 3rd Supervisorial District. Chair Ostroy and other appointed commissioners join us today to provide brief introductions, provide information on the Consumer Affairs Advisory Commission, and highlight some of the important work that the Commission has done in service to all LA County consumers and residents. Chair Ostroy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Again, I apologize. Something wrong with my Wi-Fi. So what does our commission do? We're called an advisory commission to the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs of the County of Los Angeles. So you may wonder, who do we advise? Certainly not the county supervisors. They don't need our advice. Our mission is to give advice and information to our respective district constituents. Each of the 5 supervisors appoint 3 commissioners from their district to act as a group to serve and assist residents throughout the county on issues important to consumers. So some of the issues addressed by the commission include tracking legislation, such as Assembly Bill 5, which extended the classification status and protections for gig economy workers. Another bill which provided additional protections for landlords and tenants, housing matters such as the enacted eviction moratorium and rent stabilization ordinances. We engage in outreach and we share information on the availability of cost-free resources such as free public Wi-Fi finder and the Financial Navigators program. Recently, we received a presentation on the importance and availability of the small claims and mediation process. Perhaps I'm biased as a trained mediator and lawyer, but I think the mediation program is one of the most beneficial and successful programs of the department. As the chair of the Consumer Advisory Commission, it's important to not only support the county, the department, its programs and services, but to increase outreach efforts to underserved communities and share the availability of these programs with the constituents that we serve. You can find more information on the website, which is dcba.lacounty.gov/advisory/commission. Maybe you can put that up on the screen a little later. There you can find the agenda for our meetings, minutes of past meetings, biographies of all the commissioners. And if you notice there are not 3 commissioners in your county district and you're interested in joining the commission, contact your supervisor. And before doing that, and even if you're not interested in joining as a commissioner, I would encourage you to attend one of our meetings, which are always open to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Ostroy, for that. Now, Tenny, if you can please pull up the paid sick leave slide, we can continue with the webinar. So as I mentioned earlier, our department is in a partnership with the City of Santa Monica, and we do enforce the minimum wage ordinance for the city. Much like the county, the City of Santa Monica has set a higher minimum wage for those employees who perform 2 or more hours within the geographical boundaries of the City of Santa Monica. Along with that, the ordinance does have a provision for paid sick leave that requires large employers to provide 72 hours of paid sick leave to those employees. The employers with 25 or fewer employees are required to provide 40 hours of paid sick time. Employees are to accrue 1 hour for every 30 hours worked. So that's 1 hour of paid sick leave for every 30 hours worked. Okay. Another provision of the ordinance is the hotel worker living wage. Now, this provision is aligned with the City of LA, and it does set a higher wage for hotel workers. Hotel worker is any individual whose primary place of employment is at a hotel and employed by either the hotel directly or someone in contract with the hotel employer. Currently, the hotel employers must pay their hotel workers $17.64 per hour, and that took effect on July 1st of 2021. Next slide, please. Now, recently, the Board of Supervisors passed a few ordinances in response to the COVID-19 emergency. I want to briefly give you a snapshot of each ordinance, but if you have any questions, our host, Tenny, will be posting our contact information shortly. Okay, I'll start off with the Hero Pay Ordinance. This ordinance sets an additional $5 per hour granted to frontline position employees in the unincorporated areas of the county as a compensation for COVID-19 hazards the qualifying employees encounter. Now, the ordinance was in effect for 120 days from February 26th of 2021 through June 25th of 2021. Now, even though the June 25th deadline has passed, our department can still investigate allegations of Hero Pay violations. The second ordinance is the Preventing Retaliation for Reporting Public Health Violation Ordinance, which prohibits any employer from discriminating in any manner or taking adverse action against any employee for either reporting or discussing about the employer's or other workers' perceived noncompliance with a health officer's order, or belonging to or forming a public health council, or informing any worker of his or her rights under this ordinance, or exercising any rights provided under the ordinance. Now, this ordinance differs in that it applies to all of LA County, with the exception of those cities with their own health officer. Currently, the city of Long Beach and the city of Pasadena have their own health officers, so those cities do not fall under this ordinance. Okay, and more recently, the board passed the Employee Paid Leave for Expanded COVID-19 Vaccine Access Ordinance that became effective on January 1st of 2021 and is to remain in effect until 14 days after the expiration of the COVID-19 local emergency. The ordinance requires employers in the unincorporated areas of the county to provide paid leave for qualifying employees to receive COVID-19 vaccine injections. Now, the employees who do receive the COVID-19 vaccine paid leave shall be compensated at their normal rate of pay. Full-time employees are to receive 4 hours of paid sick time per injection, and part-time employees receive a prorated amount of 4 hours based on their normally scheduled work hours over the 2 weeks preceding the injection. If they work, an example, if they work 10 hours in that 2-week period, they will get 1 hour of paid sick time. If they work 20 hours, they will receive 2, and so forth. And next slide, please. Now, I briefly want to mention the importance of jurisdiction when trying to determine if a business or a worker is subject to an ordinance. I covered quite a few ordinances today, and I briefly mentioned them, but if you have any questions or if you are unsure if you're working in an unincorporated area or a particular city, we encourage you to visit the LA County Register Recorder's website to determine if your workplace does fall in unincorporated LA County or a specific city. Our team has created a step-by-step guide on looking up jurisdiction that is available on our website. I believe Tenny has already posted this on our chat, but we will have our contact information available. And lastly, I just want to invite everyone to call our counselors. Our counselors are ready to help and give you the appropriate workplace ordinance. And if you have any other wage-related questions, if it's not within our jurisdiction, we may be able to direct you to the right agency. And with that, I want to hand it over to Diana, who will be covering our consumer services. Diana?
Thank you so much, Perla. That was some great information there. I just want to remind everybody, please feel free to use the chat and ask your questions. We will be answering all of them at the end of our presentation. I will be speaking about the Counseling and Mediation Division. It is composed of 3 programs: counseling, small claims, and mediation. Our counseling program is comprised of information on consumer-related topics and small claims-related topics. Counselors provide assistance to the public via phone, in person, and through questions posted online. We aid the public with all types of consumer questions in a variety of subjects and aim to protect consumer rights. Our small claims program guides litigants through the small claims process, forms, and procedures. We've developed webinars that provide answers to many questions litigants have about many small claims topics and processes. Last but not least, our mediation program provides no-cost third-party mediation services to provide a conversation, gain understanding, promote peace, and empower parties to reach a resolution. Next slide, please. The Consumer Counseling Program provides assistance in resolving many issues, including market-based transactions, automobile purchases, identity theft, contracts, and home purchases. Our counselors assess the consumer's specific matter and guide them through their options, possible resolutions, and when necessary, to the appropriate government agency or legal aid. Some examples of what we assist with can be seen on this screen. As you can see, we assist with various things for your home or your credit. Next slide, please. And this slide shows a few more examples of what a counselor can assist with. Our DCBA website showcases a plethora of subject matters that cover most of the topics that we are showing here. For example, if your vehicle was repossessed, you can inquire with one of our counselors, of course, or you can go to our website and type repossess or repossession in our search engine with a little magnifying glass. The results will lead you to the vehicle repossessions page, which outlines what to do if you're behind on car payments, how to get your car back, and even what happens if your car gets sold. Next slide, please. Our mediation, I'm sorry, I apologize. Our small claims program specifically assists litigants with their small claims questions regarding forms, costs, procedures, and options. As mentioned earlier, small claims counselors have developed webinars that can be found on our DCBA website that outline various processes. Another wonderful tool that may be found on our website is our sample forms. These may be downloaded or printed in order to assist litigants with filling out their forms. Currently, all small claims cases in Los Angeles County are mandated to go through the LA ODR system, an online dispute resolution program ran by the court with referrals to our mediation program. Furthermore, our no-cost mediation program assists the public by providing third-party neutral negotiations to resolve disputes. For example, resolving a neighbor-to-neighbor dispute, a landlord-to-tenant matter, or even a family member disagreement. Our counseling and mediation division counselors work hand in hand with all of the department programs to provide an alternative to resolve a consumer's matter. We aim to make our consumers feel whole. And with that, I will pass this on to our Consumer Protection Investigations Program, Karen.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Karen, and I'm a senior investigator with the Consumer Protection Program within the County of Los Angeles Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. I am part of the team that performs investigations within our Consumer Protection Program. Our unit works to provide consumer protection through advocacy, individual complaint review and resolution, and education to consumers and businesses. Complaints are reviewed for allegations of fraud or violations of law, and we attempt to informally resolve complaints and recover losses. Investigators work to determine if there is a pattern of fraud, and should a pattern be established, DCBA may refer the collective case to a prosecuting agency for civil or criminal actions against perpetrators. Next slide, please. Now, during these investigations, investigators may perform undercover or other investigatory actions under the direction of the prosecuting agency. And please keep in mind that not all complaints we receive will merit a referral to a prosecuting agency. Please, next slide. Our office accepts many different types of complaints, including issues with consumer purchases, billing disputes, real estate fraud, immigration consultant fraud, and elder financial abuse, just to name a few. The top complaints we receive involve allegations of wrongdoing by immigration consultants, issues with general retail purchases, used car sales, unauthorized practice of law by non-attorneys, and elder financial abuse. If you would like to bring an issue to our attention, complaints can be filed on our website, dcba.lacounty.gov, or submitted by mail. Now we'll go back over to Diana for questions.
Thank you, Taryn. I just wanted to let you guys know our contact page. Of course, you can always call any one of our units by contacting our general phone line, the 800 line, as you can see on the screen. And Tenny has also posted it in the chat. You can always visit our website, which, as mentioned, plethora of information, topics, forms, procedures, videos, webinars. All of our DCBA programs are strongly on social media and social base to try to assist you the best way possible. I just wanted to show you guys, you can also look at the commission is webpage on our webpage, and I put the direct link there for you. And last but not least, at the bottom, as you can see what our home screen looks like on our DCBA website, I have posted arrows for you to know where you can file a mediation, where you can ask any of us a question, or where you can look up on the tabs for small claims or mediation information. With that said, I wanted to go ahead and get started with the questions. We've been receiving a couple of questions here, ladies. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with a wage question, Perla. They're asking, how do I know if I am entitled to the county's minimum wage?
Thank you, Diana. Great question. So it's important to note that the appropriate minimum wage depends on where the work is performed, right? So if you work at least 2 hours within a particular week in the unincorporated area of the county, then you are subject to the county's minimum wage ordinance. If you don't, if you work outside of an unincorporated area, you will be paid either the California minimum wage or the minimum wage of the city where you worked, if there is an applicable minimum wage ordinance. This is why it's so crucial that we establish jurisdiction. We do want to encourage the public to please give us a call. If you're a business owner or an employee, our counselors are here to help you both. But another thing to know is that your employment status, where you live or where the employer is headquartered, does not determine the minimum wage that applies. So please give us a call and we can look up your jurisdiction for your workplace and let you know what minimum wage law applies.
Thank you, Perla. I do have a counseling question here for you, Taryn. It says, I live in Orange County and bought something online from a business in Los Angeles. Would you accept a complaint?
So our office does accept complaints whether the business or the consumer are in Los Angeles County. So in that case, we would accept a complaint.
Thank you. And I do see here also a small claims question. What is the maximum I can sue for in small claims? So in small claims, if you are suing as an individual, first and last name, you can sue for a maximum of $10,000. If you are a business, a corporation, an LLC, or an LP, the maximum you can sue for is $5,000. But if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call and we can better explain it. The next question here, Perla says, my employer is a contractor, but I work at a hotel in Santa Monica. Does the hotel wage apply to me?
Yes, the hotel living wage would apply to you. The law says that any employer that contracts, leases, or sublets with a hotel within the geographic boundaries of the city of Santa Monica is required to pay the living wage. If you need clarification on whether your hotel is within the geographical boundaries of the city of Santa Monica, please give our counselors a call or send us a question using our email addresses that Tenny has already shared in the chat.
Thank you, Perla. I have another small claims question here. It says, how much does it cost to sue in small claims? And what if I'm low income? To sue in small claims, the fees vary. It could be either 30, 50, or 75, depending on how much you are suing for. So if you're suing anywhere from $1 to $1,500, your fee is 30. If you're suing anywhere from $1,501 to $5,000, your fee would be $50. And if you're suing anywhere from $5,001 to $10,000, your fee would be $75. If you are low income, there is a fee waiver available with the court. The form is called F as in fee, W as in waiver, 001. And if you do qualify, if you receive food stamps, Medi-Cal, pension, Social Security, anything of that nature, you can qualify, and that would cover your fee for starting the lawsuit, as well as your fee to serve the lawsuit, which usually a sheriff would charge $40 to serve your lawsuit. With that being said, Taryn, we have a question here for you. I've been having issues with my landlord. How can you help?
So our department actually has a rent stabilization unit that can answer any landlord-tenant questions you may have.
Thank you. And yeah, just to emphasize on what Taryn just said, our landlord tenant unit is an amazing unit you can contact for any questions with any problems, including just if you just want to know your rights as either a tenant or a landlord. Another wage question we have here, Perla, says, which type of business must pay the $5 hero pay?
Okay, first I just want to remind everyone that the Hero Pay Ordinance was in effect between February 26th and June 25th of this year. So if you worked during that time and you were an employee that worked in a retail grocery store or a retail drugstore or a large retail store that sells groceries or drugs, wherein you might have been entitled to the $5 Hero Pay per hour for the hours that you worked at the store. Okay, there are some requisites for the store that are spelled out in our ordinance. The store must be in the unincorporated area of the county, which is something I've already mentioned, but it must also have more than 10 employees, and it has to be part of a company that is either publicly traded or employs 300 or more people nationwide. So I know that's a lot of information, but if you suspect that you or a neighbor or someone that you know might have been subject to the Hero Pay Ordinance, please give us a call. We may still be able to investigate Hero Pay wage allegations of violations. So give us a call and we'll look into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Perla. I think we might have lost Taryn for a little bit here. So I'll go ahead and ask a couple more small claims questions we have. I want to remind the audience to please utilize the chat to ask their questions. If we are not getting too many questions, we can always end the webinar a little early. We don't want it to waste anyone's time if your questions have all been answered. So our following small claims question says, can I sue a husband and wife in the same lawsuit? And the answer to that is yes. If you are suing them regarding the same situation and they're both at fault, or you believe they both are, you can definitely include them both in your lawsuit. You would need an additional page. So the lawsuit page you need is the SC 100, S as in Sam, C as in Charlie 100. But if you want to add a secondary defendant, such as a spouse, you would need a second form, which is the SC 100A as in Apple. And once you have that, you can sue them both. On the other hand, if the issue is only with one person, let's say the husband is your coworker and he broke something of yours, if that doesn't blame the wife or the wife is not at fault, you don't necessarily have to include her just because they are married. You can include them if they're both responsible, but if they're not, it's not like a tag team where if one does something, the other one must be put in the lawsuit. I hope that makes sense for everybody out there. Let me go ahead and take a look at here. So I have a question, Perla. It says, I'm in LA County and purchased online, but ended up having shipping problems and never received packages, refunds, etc. The address they ended up using were false and was threatened by USPS employer that they would throw my items in the trash if I didn't pick up packages since I wouldn't pay a COVID-19 fee. That would be reimbursed when package would be delivered. Is this something I can claim for? Claim for as in a lawsuit? You can definitely sue for something like that. Absolutely. The problem I would see here is that you don't know who scammed you. So this sounds like a scam. And in small claims, you need to know the first and last name of the person or the full business name of the business that you're going to sue. And you also need an actual address. So if you have an address for them and you know where to find them so you can serve the lawsuit, absolutely. But if you don't know where this happened and this is just a scam, You can submit complaints. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, they received complaints on online scam, as well as it's I as in island, C as in cat, and the number 3.gov. IC3.gov, they receive complaints online regarding fraud. What I would suggest is for you to contact our 1-800 number and speak to one of our counselors, and you would get more detailed information. It says the site has an LA address and then another address was given in Kern County. Yeah, unfortunately, you would have to do the research yourself. You may have to go out to the addresses and figure out if somebody is there that you could serve and sue. If these addresses, again, if they're non-existent, then it would be very hard to sue them or collect from them if it was just an online scam. So going on to our next wage question here, Perla, it says, does the COVID-19 vaccine paid leave only cover the time spent for an employee to receive the COVID-19 vaccine?
That is a great question, and the answer is no. The COVID-19 vaccine paid leave includes the time spent for an employee to travel to and from their COVID-19 vaccine appointment to either receive, they can also use the time to receive the vaccine injection and to recover from any symptoms related to receiving the COVID-19 vaccine that prevent the employee from being able to work, whether in the office or even to telework.
Thank you, Perla. Going back to the question here that I have from Claudia, yeah, the answer is yes. You can sue if you have a name and address, absolutely. Let's see, I have another one here. It says, if mail is delivered to your home address for an unknown party that appears to be fraudulently open credit accounts, how can you report this to get it to stop? Well, if it's not under your name, you don't really have too much access. You would probably have to find the person to tell them or let them know what's going on. You can, with the mail, if it doesn't belong to you and it keeps arriving, you can definitely write on the outside of the envelope that they don't live here, and then the mail carrier will notify the main office so they stop mailing you stuff that belongs to someone else. If you know the person who you believe is a victim of fraud, then they can contact us. We would have to decipher the type of fraud that is happening in order to best assess the situation. I see here, thank you for all the information. I will contact you this afternoon. Not a problem, Claudia. Absolutely. Contact us anytime. But yeah, going back to the mail situation, again, if it's not your mail, then you're going to have to just let the post office know so they can take it back and stop sending you things that don't belong to you. Let's take a look. So our next question here says, I have been having issues. Oh, I'm sorry, I already read that one. Our next question says, can DCBA help me if I rented a hall for a wedding and no longer want to have my wedding due to COVID, but the hall refuses to return my deposit? So yes, the main thing we would do as a counselor, if you gave us a call, is we would ask about your contract with that venue or that hall. What does the contract say? Does the contract say that you are able to do cancellations? Does it say that it has a cost for cancellations? Does it say that cancellations are not possible? We would have to look at your contract, and depending on what it states, we would go along with it. If we unfortunately, as a department, cannot change a contract, but you can submit a complaint with us if a contract is not being followed or if it's being broken. And then Taryn, our investigation team, would take a look at it and see how they can best assist depending on the problem. If the contract, for example, says no cancellations whatsoever, and you claim and you think that COVID is a good enough reason for them to cancel it and for the contract to be void, that is something you would have to take to court. You can even take to small claims or to higher court and allow a judge to decide whether that contract can be voided or not. Unfortunately, we would not be able to get involved with that as we cannot change the contract, but we can look into it if the contract is being breached. Let me take a look. I see Gwen here. You are stating this is an unknown party with mail fraud. Yeah, so unfortunately, if you don't know the party who you believe is a victim of fraud, you're just gonna have to let the mail know that they don't live there and to please stop providing you their mail. And from then on, hopefully the responsible party will get a notice about this. I have another wage question here, Perla. It says, can I only report health violations involving COVID?
So no, actually, the Anti-Retaliation Urgency Ordinance covers any potential violations of the County Health and Safety Code. So if you are experiencing any form of retaliation, give us a call as you may be protected under the ordinance.
Thank you, Perla. Another question I have here is, I want to sue my ex-roommate who owes me rent, but she moved back to her parents in New York. What can I do? Well, there's several things that you can do. Number one is you can try our mediation services, which again, a mediator would try to reach out to them and see if they can assist, if they can try to resolve the problem between the two of you. As long as you live within LA County, we would be able to accept a mediation request and we would notify the roommate wherever they're located if they would like to participate. And if they say yes, then great. One of our mediators will try to come up with a solution with you guys. But if the roommate says no, then unfortunately you would have to look into possibly taking them to court. The issue with small claims is that you are not able to serve out of the state unless it's pertaining to two specific reasons, which would be if you had a car accident that happened on a California highway, or if it is regarding real property in California. So it depends on how you guys are roommates. If you are not the owner of the building, you possibly cannot serve as the state. If you guys were just co-signers and it's just a roommate, it has nothing to do with the building, then unfortunately you may have to sue her in New York through her small claims court, or you may have to speak to an attorney to sue her in higher court. The beauty of at least our online small claims is that now a lot of things are online and you can actually present yourself in court virtually. So you don't have to show up. I don't know how advanced New York Small Claims Court is. You can always reach out to their small claims advisors, and if you can appear virtually or by declaration, which would be in writing, or by telephone, then possibly that is a possibility for you. Let me see if we have any other questions coming up. We have another wage question, Perla, and it says here, if I complain, will I lose my job?
That is a great and important question. So it is against the law for any employer to take any adverse action or retaliate against any worker who is exercising their rights under the ordinances that we've covered, right? So if you are experiencing any form of retaliation, you are protected under the ordinances that we have discussed today. And I do want to mention briefly, what are some examples of retaliation, right? Maybe retaliation is happening to you, but you're not sure. So some examples of retaliation can be if your employer is, has fired you or is threatening to fire you, if they're reducing your shift hours, or if they're even threatening to report you or contact immigration services. These are unfortunately things that do happen in the workplace. So if you are experiencing these adverse actions, please give us a call. And last thing I want to mention is, DCBA, we will not ask or report your immigration status. So we hope that you feel comfortable in contacting us. Our counselors, our wage counselors are great. They're very well versed. So please give us a call and we can provide you with more accurate information. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Perla. It looks like we have reached the end of our consumer questions here. So unless we don't have any further questions, I just want to go ahead and end the webinar here. I have everybody have a little bit of their afternoon and enjoy their lunch. I just want to thank you all for attending the webinar. Please remember that this video, along with many other videos, are available within our small claims tab on our website. Please be on the lookout for more videos and webinars. We would really appreciate if you would complete our 4-question survey. Let us know how we did. If there's anything else you would like to see, we would love to hear from you. Perla, any last words here?
No, thank you, Diana, for a wonderful webinar. Again, our counselors are here to help. We answer your emails and your phone calls. So give us a call. There's a lot of information on our website. So please remember to visit our website at dcba.lacounty.gov. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye. Bye, Perla.